Hey there, you're tuning in to LowKey by Oaky, our easygoing sessions for hotel professionals where we chat about industry trends, issues, and solutions.
Ready?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Well, welcome everybody and a warm welcome to a new episode of LowKey by Oaky. My name is Fabrizia and I'm going to be the host for this episode. Today's topic is going to be about Millennials and Gen Z and how are they currently shaping the hospitality industry. We have a great guest today for this topic. Her name is Renata Komarzinska and she's the General Manager at Nhow Amsterdam RAI. Welcome, Renata.
Thank you, Fabrizia. Thank you for having me here today for the podcast.
Well, it's a pleasure. Well, before starting, I think it's good to mention that Renata is now working at Nhow Amsterdam, which is a lifestyle hotel. But before that, she worked at other hotels of the NH Group, which makes her a great guest for this episode because, of course, she had the chance to compare and learn firsthand what works and what doesn't. So maybe we can kick it off by... you could tell us a little bit about when did NH start feeling the urge to build this brand, Nhow Amsterdam, or Nhow in general?
The urge, or maybe let's say it this way, that brand actually, the first hotel we built, which came as a lifestyle brand, it was in 2006. So I think quite on trend with what happened in the beginning of 2000s, where a lot of lifestyle brand came to the market. Now was one of those brands, and now we are growing. We are 8 properties currently in Europe, and there are some developments coming in the near future as well.
Nice, that's exciting. Well, for all of our listeners, I think maybe to give a bit of context, I wrote down a few lines about how Generation Z and Millennials are described. Generation Z travelers were born more or less between 1997 and 2012, while Millennials between 1981 and 1996. What both generations have in common is that they both grew up with technology. And I think from here, I would like to ask, how does technology and what role does technology play in shaping the experience at your hotels?
Yeah, it's true. People from the Generation Z and Millennials are kind of full online, right? We would like to say it that way. They grew up with technology. They know technology. They use technology in their daily life. And of course, it's also kind of molds how they travel, right? How we travel, probably. So a big part of it's research, right? How decision-making process is made for travel. So if I look back, before, hotels would put a lot of emphasis on describing themselves how they are, right? What we have pool, we have this, we have that. Currently, what drives the booking pattern very often are the reviews, and online reputation, which is created online and which is authentic. So like people would more look at the pictures, user-generated content, right? Rather than what the brands are saying about themselves, right? So that's first part of technology. Then I think communication switched a lot. For lifestyle brands, we are using a lot of direct communication with the guests, like a WhatsApp or any other instant tools which allow us to answer in real time real questions and hopefully meet the demands of the guests. At the same time, I feel there is a little bit difference between Millennials and Generation Z when it comes to technology, because Millennials, I feel like they research a lot, right? They kind of they still generation which would like to be seen. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of okay, I will put a picture on the Instagram where I am and etc. Where Generation Z, they're just entering labor market, right? They're very technology savvy, but they use this technology to express their experience more and to create this dialogue. It's more two-way communication rather than one-way communication. So here for us, it's crucial to actually engage with that crowd, right? With those guests who want to be heard, want to interact, and want to be part of the experience, right? So yeah, maybe I went a little bit too far.
No, absolutely. I think we can also see it in our everyday lives, right? Like I compare myself to my sister. My sister is full millennial and I'm kind of at the edge of Gen Z and millennials. And when I look at her Instagram versus mine, her is way more this picture of where am I, whereas I tend to post a bit more of the context where I am or the pictures, and I really aim for that interaction two ways, as you mentioned. And I think that having the instant communication, like WhatsApp you mentioned.
WhatsApp, Instagram, I think we got bombarded from every angles, because even I feel like emails are getting old-fashioned by now. Like it's, nobody wants to send email is an effort.
Yeah, it's also way more formal. Maybe
way more
that's
formal,
also a part of it, right? Like the informality of the generations.
And I think also in the way we communicate daily, like at work, we are like more on Teams. We kind of, let's ask a quick question instead of having the opening, the whole lines of introduction in the email, and then the closing and everything, while you just drop something on there and you just want a quick answer and then you just want to move on. So.
Absolutely. And how do you feel, I'm not quite sure how many, in which countries the properties of Nhow are currently planning on opening, but how do you feel geographically that differs per country?
Oh, it's a good question. Maybe I will answer a little bit differently. That I think lifestyle brands, that there are big cities mainly where all the trends begin in general, right? So we are looking at the capital cities, we are looking at some kind of hubs or cities with a lot of, I would not say young population, but more of creative hubs, let's say art, music, food. And Nhow brand answers very much to those demands or to those expectations. So I would say geographically, when we look where our hotels are created, first hotel was in Milan and the theme was fashion, and then how we moved on and we moved to Berlin, and where the theme of the hotel is music. So it's also very one of the characteristics of our brand is that each hotel kind of represents the city it's in and picks up one of the themes of the city. So for Nhow Amsterdam RAI, it's a cultures hub because it's a very multicultural city. And
definitely.
And that's what we try to express. So geographically, I would say everything where we see that things are going on trend, or where we see that a particular property can be a great match for that city. That's where we would like to put it, because it needs to connect to the city. It needs to connect to who we are, what we want to express, and how we want to surprise guests. Because Nhow property is one of those properties which are not standardized. So every Nhow property you visit would be different. And I think it goes for different lifestyle brands in general.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I actually want to play a little game. Because sometimes we talk a lot about Gen Z and millennials, but I would like to know in small concepts and words. What are 3 words that for you encapsulate this shift, this generational shift?
I would say connectivity. I think community is a lot, and like truth, so authentic experience. So that's
nice.
Probably what I would say.
And what would you say is some authentic experience, for example, that Nhow is offering that is very common, for Gen Z or millennials to pick up on?
Yeah, I think there are a few things, but very simple. Let's just say if we go to our breakfast in the morning, and our building has 24 floors, so we have this beautiful view over Amsterdam. And if you come to breakfast, and there is one of those things when you can make your own waffles.
That's cool.
So let's just say it's an experience. It's authentic. There's like the whole story also about the stroopwafels
that's so
in
cool.
Amsterdam. So you kind of can experience it a little bit already every morning when you wake up. Right?
Yeah.
So this is one of those things. And then we also do have our team recommendations for guests. So instead of having like this very typical places to visit in Amsterdam, we also do have, Tom from reception, his favorite pub is this, and his favorite, comedy show is that.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Very
what we are
personal.
trying. Very personal, and also like allowing our team to be who they are. And I think that's also a big connection we make with the guests, that our team who is there, it's exactly the same people we are targeting as a guest. Right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds very fun. I would totally go to a hotel like that. So for our listeners, I would say Nhow Amsterdam and in general Nhow brand is doing a great job with including new generational trends in their strategy. But what are some easy wins or strategy that could help them already stepping up their game to cater the preferences or needs of these new generations?
I think connectivity is a big part of it. Like Millennials, Generation Z are used to seamless connectivity. It's not a hassle. It's not 3 times password and which need to be changed after 24 hours. Or so that's one part which makes them feel at home, right? And I think it's very important, and it's one of those things which is easy neglected as well. And then it becomes for travelers who used to travel with being full-time online, all of a sudden when you can't do that, it's very difficult. Like streaming their content in the room, I think that's also something what is like kind of easy win. But part of connectivity, I think another big part is community. It's because when we look at how Generation Z and Millennials actually interact, it's a lot also about the community. It's about being part of something, right? Like reliving something, but not reliving it alone, right? It's not about being in Rijksmuseum, it's experiencing Rijksmuseum, right? It's not anymore picture with the building. It's way more, okay, there is something special happening. There is something, a special exhibition. And same goes for hotel places. So what we see now, there is, guest doesn't like to stay alone in a room. They rather go to the place, which is like a living lobby concept, or bar, which is accommodating, that you sit there with the laptop and you can work, or you can make some pictures, or you just chat with your friends. Or you want to meet travelers who are like you, and maybe it's not particularly for our brand, but recently I read a very interesting article saying that there is a hostel platform which is like intermediary for hostels, and they really were community based. So they would, I'm sorry.
No worries.
They would create something like once you book a certain destination, they would send you like, okay, how many travelers are traveling to that particular destinations? And then 2 weeks prior your arrival, they would actually connect in a chat group with other people who are going to that particular hostel, for example, right? So you kind of can build that community already, and even if you travel alone, or there is also more and more business/leisure travels happening, right? So all this together, it kind of also is framed inside a certain community, and people like to meet, like to interact, like to grab a coffee together and just casually talk to each other, right? So I would say probably that community, technology, and casual interactions. I feel it's way less on standards and what is written, the scripts, and it's still there for those who love it, but I see there is more and more trend to kind of put emotional intelligence as your standard. You know, that your team in the hotel can recognize who guests are, what they like at this particular moment, and what they want to do. So I think that's also, it's a quick win, maybe not, maybe actually a challenge we all need to encounter in the future.
Yeah. That sounds great. And well, this is a bit tricky, but do you feel like embracing this shift towards newer generations somehow leaves behind older generations, or how do you approach that? Like, how do you avoid excluding older generations? Well,
I would like to say previous generations, and I think previous generations can only benefit on what is happening. I don't see, especially in the hotels, I think there might be industries where this is a little bit different, but looking at how industry evolves towards Generation Z or evolve towards millennial generation, it's putting a lot of effort into guest experience, right? Because experience is the key. Emotions is the key. Experience, community. Yes, there is technology, but it's not technology which are not used by previous generations. I feel like, especially in the hotels, there is nothing outrageous. And yes, we don't have any more room directory. I don't know if you remember, but there was times when you would arrive to the hotel and there was like this thick book about the hotel and services, and sometimes in alphabetical order, and funny times. But and now we do have like guest service apps, so you scan a QR code and then you have all the services. It's real life updates about opening hours, and there is possibility like, okay, order your room service, and it's all this scrolling and reading. We do it on daily basis. It's none of the previous generations. It's nothing new for them. Like, I mean, we research things on the internet, so it's kind of same thing. But what changed a lot, I think there is way more trustworthy content, and there is way more interaction, and there is way more on offer for the guests because expectations changed. And I feel like previous generation can really benefit from it. And we see this switch everywhere, not only in the hotels. If you go to office buildings, even city halls or shops, some self-scans. Let's just say it's been like, you could not imagine supermarket with self-scan like 10 years back, right? Yeah. And now, like, if you look at Nhow Amsterdam RAI particularly, we do have empty fridges in the hotel for the reason that we don't want to impose anybody to drink some particular things, right? But what we do we do have self-service shop in the lobby, which is like an honesty shop. So you kind of grab whatever you want for your fridge. Yeah. And you just pay there, and you do it yourself. It's a self-scan. So it's, again, we are going back to technology, maybe not very advanced, but it's an experience when you can personalize your minibar selection, right? But at the same time, it's not something completely unique or something what people not used to, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So getting back on your question, I really think that the previous generation can only gain on whatever trends are put there by millennials and Generation Z.
Definitely. And I think if I can add on what you just said, in everything that you mentioned, there's still the people part, right? Like you mentioned that you want connectivity and you want still people to have that emotional intelligence to understand the guest's needs.
Absolutely.
Which means that even if I'm in a previous generation, or if I'm not fully capable of using a self-scan or don't understand how the mini bar works, I can always pick up the phone and call and say, hey, would you mind helping me doing this? And I'm like, there's always someone that can come and help. So I think that's also a big key in the shifts. You always have people, and people can help you whatever generation you belong to.
Yeah, and it's very important what you are saying. I think it leaves a little bit more room for that, actually, because less procedures, more time to dedicate to the guests, and not talk about boring things. Let's just say, okay, the whole check-in procedure and what needs to happen and where you need to sign. It's more about, okay, you're here is your key, so what is your plan for the evening, or what are you going to do in Amsterdam? And then you switch that conversation to a little bit more personal, and you make people feel welcomed, like genuinely welcomed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I think it's just a gain.
Yeah, nice. Is there any specific challenge or obstacle that arises when, going through these generational shifts? Like while building this brand, these lifestyle brands, what do you remember being, a big obstacle, or right now, like also nowadays, being a bit of a challenge?
I think a challenge, that emotional intelligence, what I said before, this is something where you need to train your team on a little bit different level, and also understand them, who are generation usually Z and millennials, and they also their perception of how service should look like, and how this can still excel and meet guest expectation, exceed guest expectation, and how to constantly surprise guests, right?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things where you want to be lifestyle because you want to give that experience, but you also don't want to repeat the same experience every time. So for us, it was very like our hotel is pretty unique in that respect because we have 6 different rooms design, for example. So if guests arriving, it's still possible that staying 6 times you will stay in 6 different rooms, right? So this design element and it's there as a hardware, I would say, right? But then on the soft skills, right? On soft part, how we can still surprise the guest, engage with the guests, how we can make them come back, recommend our property to somebody else. So yeah, I think that's to keep up with trends. I would say that's probably the most difficult
one. I guess so. I can imagine. I think any industry keeping up with the new trend and adapting to it, it's always a bit of a hard shift. Maybe.
Yeah, and let's remember, hotel are built for the longevity, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't just switch design and everything every 2 years because something changes, right? So you kind of need to keep on going, even though maybe your property was built 20 years ago, and you still want to have that element what keeps on bringing guests back, and they want to be there and they want to experience whatever you have to offer.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe in 20 years, the old school structure of a hotel is going to be back in trend, but then you have the whole lively experience that gives it a bit of a different vibe.
Yeah, I think there is like creativity can make it happen, and I think that's what's the biggest challenge, just to keep on going.
Yeah, definitely. So then you did mention a bit here and there, also Instagram, WhatsApp, but I would love to know what is the thinking process behind your marketing strategy? Like, how are you approaching it as a hotel or brand?
There are a few things. One, it's of course social media. As I said in the beginning that a lot of guests are research. They will check your Instagram. They want to know user-generated content, especially. They're gonna read the reviews. So reputation management, it's a big part of marketing. I think, especially when things go south, and how you manage that, how you manage when somebody is unhappy with how you put it out there, right? That's one part. Instagram to show what we do, but in authentic way, again, in way which engage, way which is managing guest expectations, so that we don't build up something which doesn't exist, which was quite a thing in the past for different brands, right? That you want to live up to those expectations you put on your Instagram feed. But then there is also the whole part of influencer marketing, right? Which it's a tricky one because we still keep on learning influencer marketing. But that's a big part of being seen, of being present, about exposure and about the PR. So yeah, there is a lot of efforts put in that. But our goal again is to generate very genuine content. So when we talk about influencer marketing, we are not the brand who kind of would impose anything to be seen better than we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's for us it's main focus at this moment.
Okay, well, now that's timing.
Was it 23 minutes?
Wow. Yeah, I know it goes fast. I told you. Well, the bell rang, and therefore we move to our next session. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, first of all, because I think this was really enlightening, and we could learn a lot from everything you shared with us. This new section of the podcast, we call it Shameless Plug, which means that you can shamelessly plug anything you want to our listeners.
Great. I will shamelessly plug the newest addition to the hotel then.
Nice.
We just opened a great rooftop restaurant and a cocktail bar on the 24th floor of the building, overlooking the city of Amsterdam. Shared dining experience on Latin American flavors. It's kind of a journey through the Latin America, everything from fiery spices of Mexico through ceviches of Peru and whatever else. So I will say nothing more. We're open 7 days a week. So
nice.
I would invite everybody to come and check it out.
Well, if you haven't seen their Instagram, it's amazing. I checked it out myself and it looks great. And I can't wait to actually go and try it. So that's great. Well, before closing up, I would love to also shamelessly plug something that next to everything that Renata taught us today, our great content manager at Oaky created some selling deck inspiration for Gen Z and Millennials, which might also help out a little bit with coming up with new ideas for what to upsell at your hotel for new generations. That's it. That was it for today. I want to thank you again for being here. It was really great. It was such a nice conversation and time really flew by. I could have stayed here the whole day talking. I hope that our listeners learned something from this. I definitely did. And see you next time.
It was great. Thank you so much for having me.